What it do, ladies and gentlemen? It is Triple DS here. Hopefully this floating head has caught your attention. I do just want to point out that I made this video prior to Sterling making the Hall of Fame. The reason I felt compelled to make this announcement is that a lot of the video, or throughout the video, I mentioned that he does deserve a spot. I don't believe it takes away from the information that you'd want to see about his accolades, about his time with the Packers. So I did leave it in there, but I just want to let you guys know ahead of time. That's why I keep saying he should be, he should be. But nonetheless, let's cue the intro and get straight into it. Throughout the years in the NFL, there are many iconic players that just don't get the recognition that they may deserve. Whether it's because their careers were cut short, never had that wow kind of season, maybe they just never were a champion. Over time, elite players, no less, will often get forgotten, and people will truly forget how good they actually were. Take, for instance, Sterling Sharpe, a player who brightened the NFL for 7 unforgettable seasons until a neck injury abruptly stopped his career. Between himself and his brother in the Hall of Fame, Shannon Sharpe, you'd often forget that Sterling was the better player. Don't believe me? His own brother believes that that's the case.
I'm the only pro football player that's in the Hall of Fame, and I'm the second best player in my own family.
Now granted, that is his brother, so he may be a little bit biased. But when you look back at just how elite Sterling was throughout his time with the Packers, you begin to wonder, why does his name never come up among some of the NFL greats? So in today's video, we will break down the career of Sterling Sharpe, from his time in college to his time in the pros with the Packers to his abrupt injury-forced retirement, and we will evaluate at the end of the day to see how good he actually was, and we'll give him a grade at the end of the video. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Triple DS. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I just want to take a quick moment here to acknowledge you guys. Thank you guys so much. We have hit 3,000 subs. I know this video is probably gonna come out way later, and I'll be real with you guys. I actually just had my kid not too long ago. So in order to prep for it, I actually pre-recorded a lot of videos. So this one might not even come out until a little bit later, because I didn't realize how many videos I actually recorded. But nonetheless, I just wanted to give you guys a huge thank you for making 3,000 subs. We're on the road to 5,000 now, and on top of that, I did get my first official member to join the channel. A huge shout out to Wes Most to be my first official member. But with that being said, I never actually promoted that I do have memberships for people who want to support the channel. So if you do want to support, go ahead and become a member today. You do get early access to my videos that come out on Fridays. You do get access to some cool emojis that I've created myself. Well, not created, but you know, you get what I'm trying to say if you do join. And I am going to consider, you know, doing some gaming, playing some Madden, things like that. Maybe a bit down the road once my personal life gets a little less hectic. So to my people that want to support the channel, consider becoming a member, just like Wes Most. So thank you again. But with that, let's go ahead and move on to Sterling Sharpe. Sterling Sharpe's journey began in a small town of Glenville, Georgia, where he was raised by his grandparents alongside his siblings, including his younger brother, Shannon. From the start, Sterling's natural athletic prowess was impossible to ignore. At Glenville High School, he was a triple threat athlete, dominating football, basketball, and track. On the football field, though, he was a force of nature, playing multiple positions, that being running back, quarterback, linebacker. Honestly, anything you needed him to do, he was going to do it in a heartbeat. Setting the stage for the NFL, Sterling was a hot commodity coming out of the 1988 draft. Sterling was ultimately selected with the 7th overall pick by the Green Bay Packers. He was the receiver taken right after the first wideout, Tim Brown, and right before Hall of Famer Michael Irvin. Yet, if you ask people during this time who was the better among the three, you'd be surprised to hear that a decent amount of people would have said Sterling Sharpe. He did not waste any time, with a remarkable 55 catches for 791 yards and a touchdown while starting all 16 games as a rookie. Now guys, for the 80s, that was actually pretty damn impressive for a rookie to do that. But it wasn't until his sophomore season though that Sharpe really got it going. He greatly exceeded expectations, setting new records for the Packers, who by this point were already existing for over 60 years, by accumulating an astonishing 90 receptions for 1,423 yards and 12 touchdowns. This breakout performance not only earned him his first Pro Bowl selection, but cemented his place as a rising star. We fast forward to the 1992 season where you truly saw the potential that was Sterling Sharpe. In 1992, Sharpe would achieve the Triple Crown by leading the NFL in receptions with 108, yards with 1,461, and receiving touchdowns with 13. His 108 catches had shattered the then single-season record, leaving analysts and fans alike in awe. But did the Packers make the playoffs? No, they did not.
Can you tell us when the last time a Triple Crown winner in the system merger hadn't made the playoffs?
Your brother?
Got him!
And trust me, Packers fans and anyone watching this video, as a Bengals fan, if you can see that, I know what it's like to have a Triple Crown on your team and not make the playoffs. I know. Moving on, if this wasn't enough, Sharpe would outdo his 1992 performance in receptions that were 108 with 112 the following season in 1993, becoming the first receiver in history to this point to record consecutive 100-catch seasons. Very quickly, Sterling Sharpe was becoming the talk of the town. Very quickly, he was becoming the wide receiver in the 1988 draft. And to put it all into perspective, for the most part at the beginning of his career, he was doing this with relatively mediocre play at quarterback, but that did all change in 1992. So I will give credit where credit is due. In 1992, the Packers would trade for Brett Favre, thus giving them the long-term gunslinger that we all know today. So together with Favre and Sharpe, they did create one of the most unstoppable duos in the NFL to this point. And it was in that 1993 season that the Packers' resurrection had been complete. They would make the playoffs for the first time in over a decade. And in that wild card round against the Lions, he hauled in 5 catches for 101 yards and an astonishing 3 touchdowns. The grand finale, a jaw-dropping 40-yard game-winning touchdown with less than a minute on the clock. A moment so clutch, it instantly entered in NFL folklore. Okay, well, maybe not NFL folklore, but definitely Green Bay Packers folklore. Can somebody that's a Packers fan confirm that for me? While they would exit the following week, you cannot deny the electricity emitted by this dynamic offense. In 94, Sharpe was rewriting the record books again, dazzling fans with yet another phenomenal season. This time 94 receptions, 1,119 yards, and a league-leading 18 touchdowns. He was unstoppable. Sharpe seemed destined to cement his place among all-time greats. But fate, unfortunately, had other plans. On a run play no less, Sterling Sharpe's career would be over in an instant. What had initially looked like a minor injury would later prove to be a devastating neck injury that would force him to end his career abruptly. Just 29 years old, at the peak of his powers, Sharpe was forced to step away from the game he dominated. Over 7 electrifying seasons, Sharpe accumulated 595 receptions, 8,134 yards, and 65 touchdowns. His incredible production put him on the upper echelons of elite NFL players. It's too bad that he's never really brought up when you talk about some of the wide receiver greats that we've known. But because his career was so short, he's often forgotten as one of the all-time greats in wide receiver history. And I'm even a victim of that myself. Before making this video about Sterling Sharpe, I don't know if it'll come out before or after, but I did create a top 10 wide receiver video, and if it is up, I'll put it right up here. I make no mention of Sterling Sharpe. If I could get a chance to redo this list, maybe he makes it on there, maybe. To put Sterling Sharpe's greatness into perspective though, let's go to the numbers and compare him against some of the most iconic names in NFL history. Sharpe's production stands remarkably close to that of Calvin Johnson and Antonio Brown. And if you guys did watch my wide receiver video, again, if it's up before this one, you saw how high I ranked Calvin Johnson. And not only that, you look at any tape from the 80s and 90s and you can't tell me that's a different kind of football. These are defenders that will swing at a moment's notice. They're giving you clotheslines from hell a la JBL every single play. With that being said, you do wonder how would his career have turned out had he not been forced to retire at just 29 years old. Could he have made 10,000 yards, 100 touchdowns? I think very easily Sharpe, had he not been injured, could have played just 3 more seasons and would have hit those incredible benchmarks. probably even less than 3 seasons, to be honest. Sterling Sharpe, in a nutshell, was more than great. He was spectacular. His numbers, his accomplishments, and his impact on the game place him squarely in the conversation with the legends of the sport. But if you take into consideration the era in which he played and what he overcame, there's little doubt that the greatness of Sharpe isn't measured in statistics alone, but in legacy. I'm gonna go on a limb and say that Sterling Sharpe definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And while the argument always remains is that his career was cut short, how can you deny how dominant this guy was? For 7 seasons, he was one of the best in the NFL. I do think eventually he will be inducted, and when that happens, it will be more than well deserved. In interviews, he's admitted that he rarely watches football, as it reminds him of the career he lost. As dominant as he was, I have to give Sterling Sharpe's career an A-. If it was just from pure talent alone, he'd be an A. But what do you guys think? What would you grade the career of Sterling Sharpe? Is he actually better than Shannon? Let me know in the comments down below. If this is your first time on the channel, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. We are on the road, as I said earlier, to 5,000 subs. Thank you guys so much for your support, but until next time, it's good to be back. I'm sorry if I had baggy eyes. Again, I just had my 2nd child. But until then, shaboy!